Another WrestleMania is in the books, and if you could believe it, Roman is still undisputed champion. This year's WrestleMania was a great weekend event. Night 1 was way better than Night 2, but regardless, it was still hard to decide which show stealer was the match of the whole weekend. And with the recent news of UFC merging with WWE, this could be the last WrestleMania in the way we've known it. So let's rank through the card. I'm Duke from Duke It Out, here to give you every match at both nights of WrestleMania 39 from its worst to its best. Before I begin, please make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more great wrestling content. Number 14, Pat McAfee, Shane McMahon, and Snoop Dogg versus The Miz. I just decided to have both Miz matches set as one. Him versus McAfee was fun enough, but him versus Shane McMahon / Snoop Dogg was fun for all the wrong reasons. If you haven't seen it, Shane tore his quad after a leapfrog only 15 seconds into the match. Like father, like son, I guess. So Snoop, being the GOAT that he is, called an audible and decked Miz, hit him with a hilarious people's elbow, and pinned him. I have to give major props to Miz and Snoop for doing all of that so well with no notice. Number 13, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. The match was decent enough, and I'm glad everyone participating in the match was able to show off their skill and didn't have to rush it. But that ending was just really weird. I mean, it was pretty obvious Ronda and Shayna were winning anyway, but the moment was just so sudden and the crowd had a very little reaction. Number 12, Austin Theory versus John Cena. It's a bummer that it's so low on the list, and this wasn't bad or anything, but I think most people agree that this could have been so much more. Cena's entrance with the Make-A-Wish kids was really cool, and him taking a bow before he did the 5-knuckle shuffle gave more signals that he could be near his last match. But when it was starting to get good, we got the typical heel low blow, and it was done. It's understandable since they didn't want the risk of Cena getting hurt and harming the Hollywood checks, but especially after Cena roasted Theory on the mic, I don't think this benefited Austin Theory as much as it could have. Number 11, Brock Lesnar versus Omos. This was a typical squash, but the execution was how it needed to be. Brock sold way more than I would have expected, and him getting the F5 on Omos was a fun way to open night 2. Number 10, Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish Stratus versus Damage Control. I definitely got my hopes up thinking Trish was going to turn heel here. While it was a bit slow in the beginning, this got better as it went on. Damage Control delivered and sold everything very well, Trish did a good performance, and Becky kept the energy up the whole way. I was bummed to see Damage Control lose again, but the match was good at least. Number 9, the Street Profits versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders versus Alpha Academy. Here is where we get to the really good territory. And this turned out way better than people were expecting it to be. Ricochet going crazy as always, Chad Gable continuing to show why he's been one of the most underrated wrestlers in the business. And Viking Raiders getting some dominant moments on the big stage. The last few minutes had great execution too, and the Street Profits made sure to fuel as much adrenaline as they could into the win. Some fun tag team wrestling with some great talent. Number 8, Edge versus Finn Balor. I'll quickly address it. It was a bummer that a good chunk of the match was taken away since they were fixing Balor's wound mid-match, but it didn't distract too much from this very entertaining Hell in a Cell match. Finn's strength pulling through after that brutal ladder spot shows his impressive and insane work ethic. And his expressions as the Demon were very fun. Edge brought terrific aggression, sold the entirety of their story, and greatly built up to the win for his potential last match at WrestleMania. I hope there's at least one more. While I prefer their I Quit match, this was a very fun closer for their feud. Number 7, Bianca Belair versus Asuka. Both Asuka and Bianca's entrances were very entertaining and really brought the big event feel to the match. While the build-up could have been better, their execution in the ring was top-notch, and made it difficult to guess the winner by the end. I was a bit disappointed to see Asuka lose, but Bianca staying undefeated at Mania is a very reasonable decision. Number 6, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. This probably shouldn't be this low, because the ring work and crowd control for 90% of this match is amazing. Cody's entrance was awesome, and him giving the weight belt to -1 got me very emotional. And his performance here is near one of the best of his career. And Roman sold his fear of losing very well, and the charisma is always on point with him. The near falls were nail-biting, and the build-up in this match is exactly what you need for a WrestleMania main event. And while I don't hate the fact Roman retained, they want to get that reign to 1,000 days, but the booking to that finish left a bad taste in my mouth. We've seen it in Roman's titles matches before, or even a world title match in the Indies. It's a case in WWE that we've seen plenty of times. They put two guys in a match together, and until it happens, they don't know which one should go over, and they don't want either looking weak. Cody can still be the one to beat Roman, and it's not the end of the world. But that ending drained that energy fucking quick. Number 5, Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. While I can't confidently say this match was better than Roman versus Cody, they kept everything at a great rate through and through. This match clearly had a lot of attention to it, and they made sure to present it like that. Dominic getting a montage of him in prison before his entrance was hilarious. And Rey riding with Snoop to Nothing But a G-Thing was amazing. They had the outside spots that were predictable but entertaining, either Judgment Day interferences or from Rey's wife and daughter. Dominic also got a couple of really impressive spots here and delivered the heel heat. And Rey's win was very fun, and now that we know this feud isn't over, I'm excited to see more. Also, Rey's mask being a tribute to the Great Muta was really cool. Number 4, Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. This match delivered exactly what I was expecting, and that's a good thing. While I'm not the biggest fan of Logan, he hasn't had a bad match so far. And since this was his first singles performance as a heel, it weirdly made his moves look better. And Rollins gave another fantastic Mania performance, showing off his anger and was terrific at controlling the crowd. It was also really funny to get an appearance from KSI, and the fact that he just got frog splashed through a table was even funnier. Rollins getting the win was definitely the right call, and it was a blockbuster match with great ring work. Number 3, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. There was a lot of debates on if the women's or tag title match should main event night 1. And if they had been the main event, I don't think anyone would have a right to complain after their terrific execution in this match. The slow buildup was really good in the beginning, which made any strike or near fall in the later half even more intense. Charlotte gave a great in-ring performance, but the arrogance she showed off brought so much more power. And Rhea had some amazing counters, and the resiliency she showed off was great, and doing that with her heel character is even more impressive. By the end, this really did feel like a fight for the ages, and made Rhea's first defeat against Charlotte even more earned. It's definitely WWE's Women's Match of the Year so far. Number 2, Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre. Just hearing the competitors in this match should be the statement in of itself. This triple threat was everything it needed to be, and then some. Sheamus and Drew adding more to their story, Gunther being as dominant as always, and the entire way through they are battering the living shit out of each other, and it was amazing to watch. If anyone in the crowd started to sit, they would rise back up seconds later. And I can't remember many Mania matches that consistently had that much energy throughout. And Gunther's win was brilliantly played out. The saving grace of night 2. And number 1, the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. What a brilliant fucking main event. This could be recency bias, but this is probably the best tag team match in WrestleMania history. One of the best stories in WWE's modern era, crescendoing as the first headliner at the greatest stage of them all. The Usos getting the big entrance with Lil Uzi Vert, with KO and Sammy just walking out with hoodies and no pyro, was a terrific touch to start it off. Especially with them tributing PWG on their gear. And the ring work was non-stop amazing and would keep me on the edge of my seat. The Usos adding so much anger to their kicks, KO having no remorse, and Sammy being the ultimate heart and soul of the match, which we knew he's a master at. It probably did help a little with how invested everybody has been in this story, but the near falls were so nail-biting. Jimmy kicking out of Sammy's Uso splash, Zayn kicking out of the 1D, Owens kicking out of the double splash. It was all textbook execution. And the finale of Sammy Haluva kicking Jay 3 times, with Owens making sure there's no interruptions for one of the best 3 counts I've ever watched. It was the emotional kind of joy that keeps us watching every year, even through the bad. And it was an amazing moment for KO and Sammy after a phenomenal match. So that was my ranking of the WrestleMania 39 card. Please let me know your ranking of both nights in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and duke out your opinions below in the comments.